بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا من تحل به عقد المكاره ويا من يفتح به حد الشدائد ويا من يلتمس منه المخرج إلى روح الفرج.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to this podcast series of a commentary on Sahifa Sajjadiyya by Mizan Institute. والحمد لله الذي ركب فينا آلات البسط وجعل لنا أدوات القبض ومتعنا بأرواح الحياة وأثبت فينا جوارح الأعمال وغذانا بطيبات الرزق وأغنانا بفضله وأغنانا بمنه. In this part of the dua, the Imam points out some of the blessings Allah has given us that have to do with, I would say, the physical side of us and the physical aspect of us. Now, these blessings that he points out, a couple of them I've never seen being pointed out in any of the other du'as that we have. The closest thing that you would find to this maybe is certain parts of Dua Arafah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where he gets into certain details and the nitty-gritty of the physical aspect of us. Here also, something's pointed out that I haven't seen anywhere else. It might be my limited knowledge. And he says that all praise is due to Allah, who within us, He put together and combined the tools of expansion and gave us the means and tools of contraction. What does it mean here, contraction and expansion? Well, looking at the context, number one, and also looking at what others have explained and other scholars have said in their commentaries, it's referring to the different muscles that contract and expand in our bodies. And we have to understand, if it wasn't for that, we would be immobilized completely. We wouldn't be able to move at all. This itself is a blessing that we really take for granted and just sometimes straight up forget about. The fact that I'm speaking right now. God knows how many muscles are working in my jaw, in my face, for me to be able to speak. God knows how many muscles are working when we are chewing our food. They say there's like about maybe more than 40 muscles that are working for when we are smiling. 40 muscles in the face that are either contracting, expanding, for us to be able to do that. When we sit, when we run, when we jump, when we stand, when we walk, when we talk, all of these things, they require us to have muscles that are working constantly, contracting and expanding, so that we can move, or else we can't move. We will sit idle. And it's not just that, the lungs are expanding and contracting. The hearts of the people, our hands, everything you think about will have some form of contraction and expansion if there's motion and movement. And so it says here that Allah, the Imam is thanking Allah for this purpose as well. And it says rakkaba fina. Rakkaba and tarkib means to bring together, to make something that is a combination of different things, that is going to work like a clock. So that's how the body is. It's just so beautiful. Now, of course, the Imam doesn't get into all of the anatomy of the body, but these muscles that work, they have to have nerves running through all of them as well. And the nervous system, which is maybe one of the most complex systems that Allah has given us, this argument from design, although it's not a very philosophical argument per se, but all in all, the way we have been designed, even if someone argues that is not going to prove God's existence philosophically, what it does prove, though, once you know there is a God, is that this God knows exactly what He's doing. Now, me personally, this alat al-bast and adawat al-qab, this contraction and expansion of the tools of expansion and contraction, I'm taking it as the physical side of things. Some have pointed out that it also has to do with the spiritual side of us as well, and there's contraction and expansion there as well. But personally, especially looking at the context that we're in right now, in these few lines that we've recited in the beginning, it seems to be looking more at the physical aspect, and that itself, in my opinion, is a miracle of God. It's absolutely mind-blowing how the body works. And it just seems that those who are experts when it comes to the anatomy, those who are physicians, those who know how the body works, they will have it easier for them to reach ultimate tawheed of Allah and understanding the greatness of Allah because they have a better grasp and understanding of how great this body works. وَمَتَّعَنَا بِأَرْوَاحِ الْحَيَاةِ, or some might read it أَرْوَاحِ الْحَيَاةِ. And all praise is due to Him also for the fact that He allowed us to enjoy and gave us and bestowed upon us أَرْوَاحِ الْحَيَاةِ. أَرْوَاحِ الْحَيَاةِ has been translated now. The English that I have in front of me says the spirits of life, which God knows what is meant by that in the English. But when you look at the Arabic, okay, arwah, of course, will usually be translated to souls and spirits. And hayat means life. So, but what is meant here? Well, there are two opinions on this arwah. Some have said arwah is the plural of ruh, which of course means spirit or soul. So arwah means souls and spirits. But as I said, there is a context here that we have, and it's usually in this context, it's speaking of the physical aspect of things, it seems, at least in my very humble opinion. And so others have pointed out that arwah here, in this particular context, is not the plural of ruh, meaning spirit or soul, but arwah here is the plural of rawh. So there's a difference in the Arabic language between ruh and rawh. Rawh is going to be speaking of, or is going to mean those things that make life, that facilitate life and make it livable and pleasant and pleasurable. Okay, those things of life, those aspects of life that allow us to just have a normal, pleasurable, pleasant life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to enjoy the good aspects of life that allow us to live. That's what I personally think that the Imam is saying here. He blessed us with these things as well. Think about it. A lot of the things that we do in this life, a lot of the ways that we live in this life are going to be pleasurable ones, or at least pleasant ones, or at least ones that are not painful. So, and at least that's the default and the rule. So, for example, Allah could have made eating and drinking not a pleasurable experience, but a hard one, a painful one. He could have made, looking at far distances painful on the eyes, let's say. He could have made a lot of the things that we do. He could have made the fact that our heart pumps. He could have done something so that we feel our heart pumping all the time. Think about it. When you're sitting there and the heart is pumping, you don't feel something beating in your chest unless you're anxious about something and so on. But the default is you don't feel your heart pumping. Do I feel my lungs like expanding to the point where when I'm breathing, to the point where there's pressure on my chest because my lungs are expanding? I don't feel it. Once again, if it's a certain situation, that's different. If I'm exercising very hard, that's different. But all in all, when I'm sitting there, no, I'm not feeling any of this. Most importantly, when we've had a meal and our body is digesting that meal, we don't feel anything. Although if you were to go inside the stomach, you would see that the acid that's there is a very strong acid. Now, for us, at least the human beings, the acid we have isn't anywhere close to some of the animals out there. But even the acid that we have is not burning the lining of our stomach. We're not feeling any of that. While if you were to go in the body, you would see that like there's a lot of twisting and turning, and when the body is digesting food, there's a lot going on there. It's like an earthquake in there, but we don't feel any of it at all. Allah bestowed upon us, He blessed us with arwahil hayah, meaning that He made life, He facilitated life for us in a pleasant way, in a way that's not painful. At least that's the rule. When I have to get a haircut, I don't feel my hair getting cut. It's not painful when I'm clipping my nails. All of these things that we do, all of the things that happen as we live and as the body is living and is alive, all of these are either pleasant ones or at least ones that are not painful. So this is something that Allah is praiseworthy for, and we need to thank Him for. وَأَثْبَتَ فِينَا جَوَارْحَ الْأَعْمَالِ. He put within us those limbs and body parts that we need to get things done. Once again, the hand that Allah has given me is enough for me, and with the 5 fingers on it, is enough for me to get work done. The eyes He's given me, the ears, the nose, everything that we have, these are all tools that come together as a package and allow us to get work done. Allow us to break sweat when we're working and to bring some halal bread to the table. Okay, so He gave us, it's all from Him. He could have made it harder on us. Yeah, someone might argue and say, well, it would have been better if we had wings too. It would have been better if we had 4 arms instead of 2. I understand, we could have been stronger beings than we are, okay? But He's given us enough so that we can survive. And the less He gives us, by the way, brothers and sisters, when He gives us the bare minimum that is necessary and not more than that, He could have given us wings, yeah, but He didn't. So when He gives us the bare minimum of what we need to live our lives and survive, and life could have been easier than this even, but it's not on us. As a result of that, we are rewarded more for working hard in this life. We have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He could have made us stronger physical beings than we actually are. He could have given us wings. He could have given us strength 10 times more than what we have. Look at the animal kingdom. Look at how strong some of these animals are. We are weak beings. We are weak animals, brothers and sisters. Yeah, if we look at the physical side of ourselves, we are mammals, just like other mammals. But we are some of the weakest ones when it comes to the physical strength. Well, that some have explained that Allah has given us the bare minimum that makes it easy for us to live. But it could have been easier, but Allah didn't give us that. Why? He's given us less so that we can be rewarded more because we're working hard. So that itself is a blessing, number 1, that He's given us what we need to survive. And number 2, the fact that He gave us the bare minimum that we need to survive. Alhamdulillah, we have 5 fingers on our hands. That's enough. Yeah, someone might say we could have had 10 fingers, it would have been better. First of all, we're not sure if it would have been better, but assuming that is the case, we still can survive with 5 fingers. And so Allah gives us 5. He gives us the bare minimum, rewards us greatly for using this bare minimum to live lives within the boundaries of Islam, and inshallah when the time comes we leave this dunya. That's simple. أثبت فينا جوارح الأعمال. What we needed to get work done, Allah gave us. وغذانا بطيبات الرزق. He fed us and nourished us with طيبات الرزق. طيبات الرزق means the pure of His sustenance. The pure form and the purest forms of His sustenance. Now, food will be one of the best examples. So the food that He has given us is the pure food. Now here, when it says He gave us of the pure food of His, the pure form of His sustenance, someone might misunderstand and say, oh, so there's an impure form of sustenance of God as well, but He chose the pure form for us. Not necessarily. This is something that we have in Arabic. That when you have the possessive, sometimes it will imply that possessive is actually an adjective. In Arabic, they say it's idafatul mawsuf ila sifatihi. So here, when it says He gave them of the pure of the rizq, doesn't mean that there's an impure version of rizq of Allah as well. No, all of the rizq of Allah is pure. Okay, so yes, it's possessive, but it's actually an adjective here that we have. And the Quran does mention this as well. كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. That, O people, consume and use and benefit from the pure of what Allah has given you. The pure of Allah, of the sustenance that Allah has provided for you. Not that God's sustenance is pure and impure, but you choose the pure form of it. No, if it's impure, it's not even sustenance by Allah. If it's impure, it's just something that's out there that we are choosing as sustenance for ourselves. Or else it's not divine, it's not coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't call it rizqullah. It's not a rizq that is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any rizq that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be pure. And so we should be careful not to misunderstand this term here that says طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, the pure of that which we have given them as sustenance, meaning that there's also an impure form, but you have to choose the pure form of Allah's rizq. No, as I said, Allah's rizq is going to always be pure. وَأَغْنَانَا بِفَضْلِهِ وَأَغْنَانَا بِمَنِّهِ. These are very similar. They've said that He made us He made us sufficient and needless of others through His grace and mercy towards us. أغنانا comes from غني and غنى, which means needlessness, which means to be wealthy and rich sometimes even. We have that dua, Allahumma aghnini bihalalika an haramik. Oh Allah, make me needless through your halal from your haram. In other words, through your halal that you give me, make me needless of going ever after haram. This is a dua that they say that we should do, especially after salat. That Allahumma aghnini bihalalika an haramik wa bita'atika an ma'siyatik wa bifadlika amman siwak. That, oh Allah, make me needless of your haram through your halal. Make me needless of your disobedience through your obedience. Bita'atika an ma'siyatik wa bifadlika amman siwak. And oh Allah, make me needless through your grace and mercy from anyone other than yourself. Make me needless of everyone except for you. That's aghnana bifadlihi. And then it says aghnana bimannihi. They've said that it's a similar meaning here. The difference between aghnana with a ghain and aghnana with a qaf, they've said is aghnana has to do with those things that we need right now for our survival. Versus aghnana is those things that we need in the future and we save up and put aside for future use. So Allah has made us needless in every aspect. ثم أمرنا ليختبر طاعتنا وَنَهَانَا لِيَبْتَلِيَ شُكْرَنَا. Alright, so all of this Allah has done, and all praise is due to Him for that. We're great, Alhamdulillah, thank you, oh Allah, let's get on with our lives now. Khudafiz, we have nothing to do with anything anymore. No. ثُمَّ, there's expectations though. ثُمَّ, so then after all of this is done, أَمَرَنَا لِيَخْتَبِرَ طَاعَتَنَا. Allah didn't do all of this and then just let us go. No, He did all of this, then ensuing all of that, He commanded us certain things. He ordered us to do certain things. لِيَخْتَبِرَ طَاعَتَنَا, to examine and put to the test our obedience towards Him. Yes, do you think that He did all of these things just to have done them? No. And the Quran also points out that this is not the case. He didn't just create us in vain and for no purpose. Surah Al-Qiyamah verse 36, it says, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Does mankind believe that and think that they're going to be abandoned to futility? Allah's just going to abandon them and He doesn't expect anything from them. He's just going to leave them to themselves. No. He has expectations. Or Surah Al-Mu'minun 115 says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَإِنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Did you think, O people, that we created you in vain and without a purpose and that you're not going to return to us? In other words, that's the purpose of your creation, to return to us. Okay, so these verses are saying that, look, no, there's an expectation here as well. But we have to look at this expectation in the right way. We shouldn't look at it in the wrong way. So the wrong way would be that when someone does something for somebody, usually they have an expectation, usually they want to be compensated, usually they'll want for that person to do something in return to make it up to that person who's given them something, and so on. But we have to understand that when Allah has an expectation, it's nowhere close to these kinds of expectations that we usually have when we do something for somebody. So His expectation is that I've given you these things so that they can be a means of you securing something even more for yourself, not for me. Allah is all sufficient. He is needless of everything. And so He doesn't need our ta'ah and obedience. He doesn't need it. So the expectation He has is not something that's going to return to Him. The expectation He has is that we use that which we are praising Him for and thanking Him for, use that to secure even greater good things for ourselves. That's why we're here. So when it says لِيَخْتَبِرَ طَاعَتَنَا, He wanted to put to the test and examine what we're doing, and if we're obedient towards Him or not, it's all for ourselves. It's not for Him. And so here, if this is the case, then all this idea of, I need to figure out exactly why He has asked me to do everything that He's asked me to do. Why Salat al-Fajr 2 rak'ah? Why Salat al-Maghrib 3 rak'ah? Why do I have to do this? Why is that haram? Look, it says لِيَخْتَبِرَ. He's putting it to the test. When you're putting someone to the test, the whole test is that you're not going to know exactly why they're asking you for what they're asking you for, but they want to see if you're going to listen or not. If we knew the reason for everything that He tells us to do, then it's not even going to be something very great, the fact that we are obedient to Him, because we know the reason why. We're supposed to understand and acknowledge that He's the Lord. He wants the best for us, and He knows what is best for us, and now He's telling us something to do, and I'm going to do it even though I don't know why He told me. I will know that there's a good reason behind it for sure, but it's not going to be a deal breaker for me if I don't know why He told me what to do. This is a very important thing to keep in mind. Shaitan, he failed this test. Shaitan wanted to figure out, okay, why are you telling me to do sajda to Adam? Oh Allah. Because if you're gonna speak logically here, it doesn't make sense for me to do sajda to him, because I was created from fire, he's created from clay. Fire is superior to clay. Is that not the case? وَنَهَانَا لِيَبْتَلِيَ شُكْرَنَا. So He commanded us certain things to test our obedience towards Him, and He told us to refrain from things, and He did nahi of things, so that what happens? لِيَبْتَلِيَ شُكْرَنَا. He's given us so many things, okay? And so there are some things out there that He has not given us, and He has told us to stay away from. Am I going to take heed? Am I going to stay away from those things so that I can show as a result that I am grateful, oh Allah, for what you've given me, and that suffices me. I don't need everything out there. Some people think that just because something exists, they have to experience it. No, it's not for us. So, especially if it's haram. And so, if Allah is saying stay away from it, by staying away from that thing, I am practically showing my gratefulness and thankfulness to Allah for what He has given me. Oh Allah, you gave me this, you gave me that. You gave me this food, this house, this car, these shoes, this outfit, this much money. The rest belongs to others. Alright, that's not mine. You've told me to stay away from others' belongings and property. I will stay away from it. I'm not going to overreach and encroach on other people's possessions and properties, and because that's Allah doesn't want me to. And so I'm going to show Allah that what He's given me, alhamdulillah, thank you, oh Allah. To practically show that I'm thankful, yes, I'm going to stay away from that which He's told me to stay away from. You gave me a wife, you gave me a husband, you gave me kids, you gave me all these things. All right, if others are unlawful to me, then they're unlawful to me. You gave me what you gave me, and so I'm thankful to you for that. I'll stay away from that which is none of my business. لِيَبْتَلِيَ شُكْرَنَا. So He wanted to also test our thankfulness, practical thankfulness. So what stands out here is that our practical taking heed of Him and telling us to refrain from certain things, that is our gratefulness to Him. It's not just saying Alhamdulillah, Shukran Lillah, thank you, O Allah. No, you refraining from and me refraining from that which He's told us to refrain from is thankfulness. He's putting our thankfulness to the test practically. So He commands us to do certain things to see how obedient we are. He tells us to stay away from and refrain from certain things to show how grateful we are for what He has given us at least. So this idea of thankfulness being something practical, not just something verbalized, is showing itself here in this part of the dua as well. Okay, so He gave us all these things that we praised Him for, only to come to this ثُمَّ أَمَرَنَا لِيَخْتَبِرَ طَاعَتَنَا وَنَهَانَا لِيَبْتَلِيَ شُكْرَنَا. So that this expectation is there. Everything He gave us is coming with this expectation. This expectation is to our own benefit, not to His benefit. He just wants us to use that which is temporary to secure that which is eternal and infinite. So what do we do though? Do we actually take heed? Do we pass those tests of Allah or not? The Imam continues, he says, فَخَالَفْنَا عَنْ طَرِيقِ أَمْرِهِ. But despite all of this, he did his part, Allah did his part. Do we do our part? Usually we don't do our part. Inshallah, for our next session, the Imam is going to now start speaking about what we've done and how Allah has dealt with us, even though we're not grateful, how He has dealt with us. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.